And welcome in to episode 18, I believe, of the Grind On Sports. I'm Wayne Kaiser alongside the Ben Metz right over here. And, been a little hiatus. I feel like we've been doing that a little bit here lately. But you know what? We kind of got that daytime grind going. And really life is coming at us at about 100 miles an hour right now. So really just trying to get in where we fit in. And right now, today was the best day to fit in. So, Ben, how you doing, man? Looks like you're in a new location, a little sunspot there at your house.
Yeah, I've got the orange glow going for all the Tennessee teams that are in the playoffs right now, and so yeah, I'm out here on the deck. Got back from the beach with the family. Just happy to be back on the show with you, buddy.
Well, I continue to talk about the growth that the Grind On Sports has had over the last few weeks. Last couple, basically we've been launched this thing, the YouTube channel side of it, for, I don't know, maybe 3.5 months. And really the last month and a half really have taken off. Appreciate anybody who's subscribing now or has told anybody and maybe they've subscribed. So I want to appreciate that. A lot of stuff to come here on the Grind On Sports. We're hoping to add a little teaser here, add a second day per week for a little bit different spin on things, maybe a little bit more of the I don't want to say the money line look at it, but at least a pick segment, if you will. Maybe a little look at what's hot to trot in this week's kind of matchups, but we'll try to more to come on that one. But this week it's really it's postseason baseball, postseason softball time. Big time representation by the University of Tennessee. Lady Vols, little shout out quickly to them. Made it to the Ladies College World Series. They're headed to Oklahoma State. Actually, I think landed today. And, nowhere to run and hide when you play Southeastern Conference athletics. They go all the way to Oklahoma State to play the Crimson Tide of Alabama. So wish them the best of luck. 8th appearance in the College World Series for the Lady Vols, and the first one in a few years. First one under the solo head coach, Karen Weekly. So wish them the best moving forward.
Yeah, they got a tough task on hand with Alabama. Again, that's just one of those teams where we have the pitching compared to what they have. We have the hitters. It's going to be more up here in that ball game. Is we have to get the hits that we didn't get in the 2 ball games against Texas. We really need to have pitching, not just from Gottschall and from Ashley Rogers, but we need to have pitching all around. But I'm very excited for where we are and what we have potential of doing in the NCAA Tournament in Oklahoma City. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, I think just short story is this is going to come down to how this game's called. I think if a lot of our pitchers like that slide across the plate type inside pitching, if we get the corners, I think we're hard to beat. But if they don't want to call those corners, I think we could have some work cut out for us. May have to get a little creative, but I think you just keep on keeping on. What's good about this Lady Vols team is they attack the plate. We talk about that on the baseball side, but this Lady Vols bunch likes to go up to the plate and hit, and as long as they do that, I think the pitching will take care of itself. We're pretty deep in that area, so wish them the best. They actually play I think they actually play tomorrow. They play tomorrow either noon or 1 p.m., so we'll see what the Lady Vols have early in their matchups. But again, Oklahoma City is not it's not a one-and-doner. As they, if they win, then obviously they stay in that winner's bracket. They lose, they drop to the loser's bracket and have to fight their way back. But we're going to hope for option A in that regard. But wish them the best moving forward. But really, the headline for us, a little bit not necessarily to the Omaha or to the World Series step yet. Just starting regional play this weekend. Vols, since our last show, really had made their way to Hoover, and I hope they didn't really unpack their bag very much because they went home as quick as they got there. A&M unable to really get anything going against A&M's pitching staff that night or that day, and got sent home after the first round exit there. But really, Ben, the farther I get away from that game, and you and I talked about it. It's the same thing with Tennessee basketball. How much fuel are you using in a conference championship that, yes, has a beautiful trophy? Yes, we were the reigning champ, but realistically, we showed last year you can win that and still not make it to Omaha. So, I didn't like the way we exited. I thought we looked, not that we haven't had this going on for a good part of the season. We looked mortal. We looked like there's a way to pitch to us to where we can't hit, and I don't like the way that looks. In the last couple of years, it didn't matter if this side of Glavin, Smoltz, and Maddox, you weren't going to get Tennessee not to hit the baseball, and so I didn't like that A&M kind of showed a way to do that. But coming into Friday night's matchup with Charlotte in the Clemson regional, I love that we're 100% healthy. I love that we're 100% rested. I love that really in a lot of ways, this little gap's the longest streak of break that we've had since maybe early March. To me, we may have hit the reset button at the right time.
Yeah. We talked in previous episodes that we were hoping that a bullpen game would have been played in the first game at Hoover to protect some of those pitchers. The last two teams in the SEC to win the national championship didn't have an SEC tournament title ring on their finger. So he comes out, he pitches Halverson, Sewell, Russell, Sechrist, and look at it from this perspective. These guys, they only gave up 5 hits, combined for 11 strikeouts. So they did an excellent job pitching. We just didn't have the bats. The bats just couldn't get going there in Hoover. But I like Tony V's strategy down there in Hoover. And it puts us in position to where, we have to win on the road. And we are without a doubt, the critics have already come out and said this, we are the most vicious number 2 seed in this NCAA tournament. I can guarantee you that Clemson and Charlotte and Lipscomb do not like the fact that not only do they have to worry about whether it be Clemson or the other 2 ball clubs, but they got to worry about the University of Tennessee, which arguably could have been seeded in the top 16.
Well, and I honestly think, we beat Texas A&M and have a good showing against Arkansas the second game. I could have easily seen us be that 16th spot, but that wasn't to be. But really kind of interesting how the seeding happened. Ben, we talked about that a little bit. All signs pointed to either Terre Haute there at Indiana State, either that, Wake Forest. There was a couple other, even Miami was a landing spot. Could they have gotten the ACC championship? But really, Clemson wasn't on the table. And the way it all shook out by the time it happened, we're in the Clemson bracket in old upstate South Carolina with arguably one of the I don't want to say the best teams in the nation, but by far maybe the hottest team in the nation.
Yeah, this is a team that is close to 45 wins on the season, and without a doubt, arguably the number 3 or number 4 best team in the country.
At this time,
yeah, and there were other brackets that we could have. I think that we could have been placed in, but I like the fact that this is a challenge for us, and if we can build our confidence going into Doug Kingsmore Stadium and win at Doug Kingsmore, I think it'll give this team the confidence that they need going into Super Regional.
Well, my opinion is the old Ric Flair adage. If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And right now, Clemson's got 16 straight victories in their pocket, including an ACC championship. They've won 26 of their last 29 ball games. That's a pretty impressive streak in itself. And realistically, I don't know. We've seen the path I even remember two years ago, not last year's team, but 2 years ago when we walked it off against Wright State and Lindsey Nelson. Don't get me wrong, that ended up pushing us to a place to where we could get there. But, we had to walk it off against Wright State. Let's put that in perspective. So to me, why wait? Why wait to play a really good team? Because ultimately what you can gain from competing and possibly beating a Clemson right now is you're looking and saying, listen, guys, if we get to Omaha and we're in the top 8, we probably beat the number 4 team in the country a couple nights ago, a couple weeks ago, And so to me, let's push our chips in right now. We may not have the prettiest hand that we've had all night or that we've had all season, but to me, like I said, what I love about the early exit in Hoover is we have a full bullpen of healthy arms. We can pitch whoever we want to throw. We can run a lineup out there that's been proven. Coach Vitello talked about in his press conference earlier in the week. Honestly, this team's been stricken with illness as much as they've been stricken with injury. Yeah. And so finally, Charlie Taylor come back yesterday, he said he's ready to go. So finally, maybe a healthy ball club. And I think, Clemson's park plays a little bit like Lindsey Nelson, maybe a touch bigger. I don't know that they get much smaller, but, I think it plays a touch like Lindsey Nelson. So if we can get some pop on the baseball, we may ask Clemson to see if they can keep up. But I guess first order of business is getting by Charlotte, kind of doing what we need to do there, and then let the chips fall where they may. But I don't. I've said this for weeks on end, and honestly, it sounds like I just hit repeat on my same phrase. But I think Tennessee can't look about how to get out of this get out of this regional, how to get to a super, or even mention the word Omaha. We got to worry about how to beat Charlotte Friday night, 6:00.
Yeah, and the university you touched on, the University of Tennessee, they're right around that 4 mark on earned run average, and I look at that number. Compared to Charlotte, who's more 4.5, and they're pushing with their starters in the upper 4.5. So that tells me that their starters have games where throughout the season they've had 6 or 7 runs, and again, these are earned runs. So they've given up 6 or 7 earned runs during the season, and there's been very few times that they've allowed just 3 runs against them. Whereas the University of Tennessee, when you're down there in the upper 3s, lower 4s with your starters, that's more indicative of the fact that your pitching has had times where it sticks with a 3 or 4 run gain to the opponent only, and not so much giving up 7 runs or giving up 8 runs to the opponent. So I think our pitching going into this regional is going to be something to watch. Obviously, I mean, Andrew Lindsey's is going to be the guy in Game 1 against Charlotte. I'll be curious how they play Game 2 because inevitably you have to be. Tony Vitello is going to have to think about the what ifs. What if we win this game and we got to face Clemson? So he doesn't want to put – typically what you'll see in the NCAA tournament is you won't see what you see during the regular season where you win the first game and then you pitch a dominant pitcher in the second game to square away the series. You see the dominant pitcher in the first game to solidify the first win. And then in the second win, you're just going for gravy. You're going for, okay, can we win 2 ball games and get in the championship series and force somebody to beat us on Sunday? So I'll be curious to see what his pitching choice is if we win the first game, and then second game. Who's it going to be against Lipscomb?
Yeah, well, I think it's ultimately how that shakes out. Clemson. I watched a replay of the Clemson-Miami championship game for the ACC, and obviously both those teams are very talented this season, but. I'll be honest with you, and there's been times I haven't been impressed with our ball club. So let's just kind of keep that clear. I wasn't impressed with Clemson as a dominant baseball team. It's a team that knows how to win. And then granted, in this time of the season, maybe that's all you have to do. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell you, this is a team that's only been off they'll only have about 3-4 days rest since their last ball game. We're going to come out of a 9-game break, or a 9-day break. I'm sorry. So that could be a lot of difference here, especially based on their pitching staff, how they choose to throw some things later in this weekend. But I think you hit the nail on the head. How is Tony Vitello going to pitch this staff? Because he even said it. He said, we're going to treat this like a new opening day. He said it's a 4-team tournament. And he said he said the batting average is 0 at this point. We've got to act like we haven't hit any home runs and just see where that takes us. But he says he likes the energy that his team's bringing to practices, to workouts, etc. He said they've got a little bounce in their step. And I think at this time in the season, if anything's bouncing, you got to be happy about it.
That's right. Yeah, and you talked a little bit about the dimensions of the stadium, and I want to bring up that point, just talk about that for a minute. Wayne, I'm going to talk about 3 dimensions here. I'm going to talk about Charlotte's dimensions of their stadium. I'm going to talk about Lindsey Nelson Stadium. We're not going to hit home. We haven't been hitting home runs in Neyland Stadium except for the 52-49 against Bama.
Right.
But I'll talk about Clemson as well. But I think this is very important. Charlotte has 97 home runs to our 114. Okay, so we hit more bombs. The guy you got to watch out for Charlotte is Cam Fisher. This is a guy who is on record for hitting a 478-foot home run this season, which is incredible with that bat, that BB Core bat, and 30 home runs on the year, a 352 average. So this is the guy that we're going to have to pitch through. Now, in his stadium, let's give you the baseline first. 320 for Lindsey Nelson down the left field line. And then you've got 320, so really short down the lines, 320 and 320 down the lines. And then, of course, everybody's aware it's 390 to dead center. We're going to Clemson. Clemson's 400 dead center, okay? Charlotte is the same as us, 390 dead center. But where Charlotte gets the advantage is down that right field line that Cam Fisher hits all those home runs. He usually has to hit a 335-plus home run. It's a 335-foot home run down that right field line, 335 down the left field line. So a little bit deeper in their home ballpark. So I think you'll see the 320. You'll see 330 down the right field line at beautiful Tiger Field is what it's called. I don't know why they call it that, but it is what it is.
I don't know. There's probably, if I had to guess, there's probably another team that has Tiger as a mascot, and that's what they call their baseball stadium. Because they call it Death Valley, and to me, there's only one Death Valley. LSU's got that kind of locked down. But I digress. But looking at Clemson's overall schedule this year, and I'm trying to pull up Charlotte's just because. Again, I don't know. I just feel like playing in the Southeastern Conference, you feel like you're going to see Clemson at some point. But I got to back it up because we talked about it. What was it? As soon as we knock off A&M, we're going to see if we can handle Arkansas. And that sure didn't happen. But I'm trying to pull up their overall. They're 34-26 overall. They won their opening kind of a 4-game slate against Ball State. And they actually they lost to Clemson just 9-5. I mean, so not a blowout by the Tigers over the 49ers. Then they lost a series to Army. Then they got swept by Virginia Tech, and then really kind of found themselves from there. Then they kind of split with ODU. Had a game canceled there for weather. Then La Tech kind of split with them. That was a 4-game stretch there. Then they played Carolina. So it looks like they've kind of stayed around their own ballpark, but really won a series against UAB, won a series against UT San Antonio. That's probably one of their more impressive, at least historically. They swept Rice, which traditionally is a pretty good baseball school. Really, other than that, they had another series with UAB, swept those guys. Then they got swept by Western Kentucky. So sounds like it's which Charlotte team's going to show up. because it looks like they can win them and then they can lose them in about as epic of a fashion. They swept Middle Tennessee. They swept them 3 games, 3-2, 14-5, and 5-2. That's a lot. Then trying to see if anything else. That's basically any of their big. They played Dallas Baptist like 100 times this season, and really just kind of half-see there. But anytime I think you get above 30 wins in college baseball, that's pretty impressive. They did beat South Carolina May 16th. They beat them that midweek game right before we went down there and got a hold of them. But to me, it's a team that you can't overlook. It's I'll put this and that it even made me kind of cringe when I thought it. This is a Tennessee Tech. It's a team that's good enough to beat you, and if you don't hit the baseball, they're going to beat you. But I think you just kind of handle your own. A healthy baseball team, go to the plate, expect to hit the baseball, and then have good base running. I felt like late in the season, especially we could have swept South Carolina that last weekend, and really some poor base running and some bad decisions let that last game get away from us. So to me, Tennessee's just got to handle their business, take care of Charlotte, and then the chips will fall where they may. We'd see Lipscomb. Well, we've already beat them to 10-0 earlier in the year. And then if we see Clemson, I like when we play up to our opponent. You think about it. We went down to South Carolina, and you and a few guys we talked to at work, we'd be lucky to get away with one. And then we went down there, and honestly, if you didn't have a bad play at third base there one night, first base, we probably sweep the Gamecocks. So I think this team knows how to play when they need to play. The problem is they don't have the consistency to feel good about a long distance run right now. So let's just take care of Friday night and then go from there.
Yeah, Charlotte is a team that they won that Conference USA tournament, and they did it while having a shaky record on the road. And very similar to us, both teams, both Tennessee and Charlotte, below 500 on the road. To me, I think the difference maker is that our pitching has held opponents to 290 average. And looking at Charlotte's top 3 starters, these are guys that are going to give up runs. It's very important that we set the right lineup. So I'm gonna kick one at you, Wayne. What would be the top of your order? 1, 2, 3. What do you think?
So I don't know. A lot of people like Blake there being kind of the leadoff guy. I always thought I liked him at the cleanup position. I think his I don't want to say he has an ego, but I think his just demeanor he likes the moment. And so to me, I wouldn't have him lead off. I'd probably have. Now, are you giving me the option that everybody's healthy?
Yeah, everybody's healthy.
Okay, so I'd lead off with Dickey. To me, Dickey gets on base. I mean, he's Freddie Freeman of the college game. I mean, he just knows how to hit it, does what he needs to do. I like Dickey. I'd probably just trying to think. I'd probably put. Why am I drawing a blank? It's the Scott. I'd probably put Scott maybe second or third. You can interchange these. And then I'm probably putting and you're probably going to be like, really? A freshman? But you're saying he's healthy. I'd put Kavarius Tears at 3, and then I'd put Blake Burke at 4. That's probably be my top 4.
Yeah, I like it. I'm a Dickey guy at 1. I think the reason why Tony Vitello goes with Ahuna at that number 1 spot over
somewhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he goes with Ahuna over Dickey in the 1 spot because Ahuna goes up there and he's not swinging at the first pitch. Dickey goes up there and he's swinging out of his cleats, man. I mean, the guy's only got, out of all the batters in the lineup, he's got 19 walks on the year. So he's not a guy that is going to sit up there and just watch the ball go by him. He's going to swing the bat.
He's one of those guys that it's like his height, his stance, everything presents a strike zone that pitchers can really work the corners on him. And because he really doesn't stretch them at all. So I think that's why he's like, I'm not going to get walked. It's not going to happen for me. So I better put bat on ball.
Yeah, he kind of looks like, remember that old Sega video game like Sonic the Hedgehog right before Sonic got really upset and he just kind of crouches down and then pops out of that crouch and
in me, I actually do. Sonic is kind of timeless. He's come back quite a bit. And my little boy, he's a Sonic the Hedgehog kind of fanatic. So absolutely, I know that exact moment that you're talking about.
But I think in the middle part of the order, when I think about this lineup, because we did have inconsistencies at hitting, and I think it's a reflection of the lineup that we have, because we've talked in previous shows about how important it is to have that leadoff guy that gets on base and it just brings out the confidence on 2, 3, 4. But Merritt's got to have a good series. Zane Denton's got to have a good series. When Merritt and Denton are hitting well, typically Burke follows suit. Typically Kavares Tears, Christian Moore, those guys follow suit. So I think it's important that our pitching does what it's done all year long, and that we get off to a good start with our leadoff hitter. And that brings Zane Denton, Griffin Merritt up to the plate. They bring some confidence to the lineup.
Yeah, I'm looking. I like Griffin Merritt. I think he's a gamer. I think he likes the moment a little bit himself. I don't know that he's necessarily gets put in enough situations to where he can really make it work for him. But I like him. Just making sure that I gave you my best foot forward in that top of the lineup. Honestly, the only thing I may do, I still like Christian Scott up there, but I would probably – you could interchange Maui Ahuna, with that. But I still like Dickey at 1, Burke at 4.
Yeah.
I think that's – I wouldn't change that. But I think you talk about Griffin Merritt, but another guy that I'm real high on, and I hope that he gets a good amount of reps in this postseason to kind of hopefully just get him ready to hopefully do a little something moving forward, and that's Dylan Dreiling. I really like what he does. I think at his best, he's a really good ball player right now with a lot of upside, and I think he just needs NASCAR calls it laps in seat. He just needs some laps in seat.
Yeah, number 1 prospect in the state, Dylan Dreiling, and arguably the top prospect in that recruiting class coming to D1 baseball. Young kid showing a lot of promise in 92 at bats. He's already got, looks like 7 bombs, 304 average. I mean, as a freshman. So he's kind of showing glimpses of what Blake Burke showed us last year at this time. He's showing that, a year in the gym, working on building that muscular strength that he needs to be a pick in the major league draft. He's going to show, he's going to turn some heads next year.
Yeah, I think absolutely. But, ultimately, it's what you put on paper. It's what you do on the field. Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, Tennessee plays Charlotte. And then from there, the bracket will take care of itself. But Ben, I think Tennessee gets to take care of Charlotte. And then I think they're playing for a region championship. I really do. Now, how that shakes out, does Clemson, and did they leave their best baseball in the ACC tournament? I sure hope so. But I think the proof's going to be in the pudding. I like I don't know why. I like being in this bracket. I feel like if we went to Indiana State, people are going to be like, who's Indiana State? Why are we playing Indiana State? And then we would it would be a bigger upset because ultimately we don't know how to get up for those teams. I mean, listen, that's Tennessee athletics. I mean, just think about it. But I like that Clemson's hot right now. I like that our backs are against the wall. We had the opportunity to be a much higher placed 2 seed, and we ended up at Clemson. So I hope Tony V gets them fired up with a lot of this bulletin board material. But ultimately, once the opening pitch kind of happens, I think we got to put all that behind us and just if we play 9 really good innings of baseball, I don't think there's many teams in the country that can beat us.
Yeah, I've got Tennessee to win against Charlotte, and here's the stats that will drive you to go along with what Wayne and I are saying here. Andrew Lindsay a 2.54 earned run average. Okay, and being a baseball guy, that's telling you right there that typically he's only going to give up 2 earned runs. Very rarely in a 6 or 7 inning ball game is he going to give for 4 runs up. Okay, and with that being said, the arsenal, Chase Burns is going to be sitting there waiting in the bullpen, and this is a
He's going to
team.
be upset. He's going to be upset because his last outing wasn't a good one.
Yeah, so we're going to have a full arsenal against Charlotte, and Tony Vitello is going to use everything that he has to win convincingly against Charlotte. And then going into that second game, it all depends on Lipscomb versus Clemson, what happens there. And, you know, typically, like I said, you try to save your best pitching for potential. You know, throughout the College World Series, throughout the regional, throughout the super regional, the game evolves. And as the game evolves, you have to make decisions about tomorrow. And we saw that. We saw that last year in the Notre Dame game. Chase Burns was pitching, and that was the discussion with Tennessee fans. That was the discussion with the announcers. Are they going to continue with Chase Burns? Are they thinking about tomorrow? There is no tomorrow. So it's going to be exciting times, Wayne. A lot of drama, a lot of suspense, and you and I are going to be right there watching.
Yeah, and what I love is the longer we get into this Tony Vitello era, he has more history to draw on. You know, and you know, some would argue, you know, pulling Dolander in was it the South Carolina series, or maybe it was the Kentucky series, I can't remember. But
right. I think it was South Carolina.
But he pulls him early. Mm-hmm. And then the wheels fall off, and then we don't get the sweep there, and then, you know, other things have happened. But I think Tony Vitello, between Notre Dame series, between going out to Omaha a couple years ago, he continues to build that portfolio. He and Frank Anderson can kind of converse, and I think as long as they both stay in the baseball game, they'll have their best shot of winning. So I like the squad we're taking down there. I can't say that I don't. At the end of the day, you got to dance with what got you here. And right now it's a young baseball team, but that's had 9 days rest. So just make the most of that. Go knock off the 49ers, the ones from Charlotte, not San Fran, but and then just then try to shock the world and knock off Clemson. But I don't, you know, people's going to ask me, they're going to say, well, you think if we win, we host a super regional? I'll tell you after the weekend. How about that? I just really think, you know, at the end of the day, if it happens, I think if we knock off the hottest team in baseball, it'd be hard pressed. And if we do it in any level of convincing fashion, it'd be hard for them not to want people in Lindsey Nelson. But at the end of the day, how many times do we look too far forward? Let's just win a baseball game and then let that happen.
And fans need to be prepared because it never fails. Number 1 seeds will fall on Friday night. So we're going to sit back, turn on the TV, and watch what happens there because as you alluded to, Wayne, there's no guarantee that that Tennessee is not going to host the Super Regional. That is possible. It just depends on what happens in the brackets. It depends on what happens with the 1 and 2 seeds. We don't want to look too far in advance. We want to take care of business right here. But as a fan base, you know, we do dream a little bit and we get a little bit excited, 52-49, about the potential of being at Lindsey Nelson for a super regional. That'd be incredible. But
I'll tell you this. Danny White's not breaking ground on the second phase of Lindsey Nelson's update just yet. I'll say that. 20th ranked RPI in the country going into this regional matchup, so it's not far-fetched. Basically, 16 teams host a regional. We're number 20 in the grand scheme. So 4 number 1s fall. That's all it's going to take. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I think we've kind of vetted this. You got anything as we finish up?
I think we covered it, buddy. And we made time. We made it today, 34 minutes. Look at that.
We're going to – hey, here's the thing. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and again. Yeah. But you know what? We're going to wish the best to the Lady Vols tomorrow. I believe it's 1 p.m. They're going to take on the Crimson Tide. They have to go all the way to Oklahoma to play a team that they've played in Knoxville and Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But anyway, that's the nature of the beast.
And the key with that series, the key with the College World Series for the Lady Vols is Gottschall has shown that she will be there. Ashley Rogers has shown that she will be there. Pickens, the third pitcher in the rotation, we absolutely have to have Pickens. You got to have those three pitchers, because if we win against Alabama tomorrow night, we're facing the number one team in the country. We're facing Oklahoma. So it gets serious real quick, and we're going to need all the pitchers we got.
Well, I tell you, I'd do whatever it takes to get old Hawkshaw fired up, because, man, when she walked around that mound, I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. I don't know what. She's mad around that mound, but love it. And, again, win one game. And then let the chips fall where they are. You're in Oklahoma City. You're one of the 8 best teams in the country if you don't score a run. And so let's just go ahead and take down the big number 1 in Oklahoma. I don't think it's out of the question. And then obviously Friday night, Tennessee takes on Charlotte in Clemson, South Carolina. So we'll just kind of let that happen. And again, next week we'll give you kind of the recap, the update, and hopefully we're talking about 2 teams that are still playing a little bit. But again, thanks for the growth that we've had over the last couple of weeks. Grind on Sports. By no means are we viral, but I don't really know what that means. I don't know what it takes to do that. But we're definitely not an entry pup as we have been just a few short months ago. But thanks for everybody that's subscribing. Thanks for anybody who shared it and getting their buddies to subscribe. Keep doing that. At some rate, if we get to maybe a milestone, maybe a 5K, we'll give away some swag, give away some stuff here on the show. But until next time, go Vols, but take care, be safe, and always grind on.